Mr. Chairman, young Buddhist, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to give this talk tonight. And you have given me a very interesting subject to talk, aspiration. Later you will come to know why it is important. Because we practice this religion not knowing the real method or the purpose of our practices, our beliefs, our traditions, and how to divert our minds when we perform a religious service or a meritorious deed, and what is the aim of our religious life. There are many things to discuss. First thing, the Buddha has mentioned, whenever we perform any kinds of meritorious deeds, naturally we experience the good result within this lifetime or hereafter, whether we aspire or not. It is natural. This is the nature of the karmic result. But we must be wise, because we do not know what we get and how we experience. And sometimes we may get what we don't like. The karmic energy is such, it is unbiased. If you have not made up your mind, or if you have not aspired to gain something, you do not know what you gain. Therefore, the Buddha says, you can gain anything here in this world, material, worldly things, as a result of your meritorious deeds. But that is not the aim of our religious life. We should not satisfy simply by gaining something material or worldly pleasures which are impermanent, changeable at any moment. Therefore, the Buddha says you have to develop your way of thinking when you perform some religious duty or meritorious deed. If you do not aspire to liberate yourself, that means attainment of nibbanic bliss. Without your aspiration, you won't get it. Forever you remain by experiencing changeable, uncertain, worldly, material things which create some sort of unhappiness, disappointment and unsatisfactoriness in the end. Please remember this. Now let us take the Buddha's way of life, how he started his mission and how he aspired. For a long time, we cannot calculate in terms of years how many millions or how many billions or trillions. Such a long period he had to work by cultivating his mind, by practicing all the great virtues in this world, by eradicating all the defilements or mental impurities, and by training his mind and purifying his mind, life after life, he went on developing or preparing the background for his enlightenment. That is called Buddhahood or the enlightenment. The very day when he made up his mind, he uttered these words: I use my full efforts and energy to gain my enlightenment, to release, to liberate all those who are ignorant and who suffer in this world, and pave the way for them to get rid of worldly sufferings, physical and mental. This was the inspiration that he developed in the mind, then aspired. Life after life, I work for my enlightenment. I want to liberate. I want to pave the way for all those unfortunate living beings who suffer in this world. Then we can ask, how can a person carry on the same idea, same determination, or same aspiration life after life? Because when we define the nature of death and the mental energies, consciousness, it is very difficult for us to understand the continuity, how previous life link to the next one. Not so easy to understand. But when you study Abhidhamma, it is not very difficult. There is one particular word called sankhara. This is a very important word. When the Buddha analyzed the mind, he analyzed into four kinds of energies: Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. These are the five kinds of mental energies. Among those four, Sankhara is a very important word. What does it mean? Our mental habits, our mental tendencies always remain in our mind. We cannot wipe out. Our next life is conditioned or produced through the influence of these sankharas. These sankharas are responsible to shape up, to produce our character, our behavior, our temperament, our habit, our way of life, our way of thinking, and our virtues, our cruelties, our cunningness. These are the mental tendencies we carry life after life. Sometimes we go on increasing, sometimes we go on reducing, but still defilement remains in the mind. This is a very important interpretation. This interpretation can solve a very big problem here in this world. What is that? Very beautiful parents produce very ugly children. Very intelligent parents produce stupid children. Very religious and pious parents produce criminal-minded children. And irreligious and very uncultured, uncivilized parents produce very intelligent and very religious-minded children. Where is the secret? No one can say that God is responsible for these differences. It is not a satisfactory answer. Another big problem. Some children are very kind from their childhood. Some are very cunning. Some are very wicked and stingy. Some are very generous. Some are very intelligent and stupid. No one taught them to behave like this. No one has given these habits to them, neither by parents or anybody else. Nobody taught them to be like this. This is called sankhara, mental tendencies that they have developed during their previous birth. Still they carry on with them. It is not so easy to change their minds. Now, there are criminal-minded young boys, parents, government, religious authorities, societies try within their level best to train them, to bring them into good way of life. Doesn't work. They go back to their way of life because their mental tendencies very deeply rooted in their mind. We know that there are some young boys and girls who like religious way of life, who like to learn religion, practice religion, to be religious. But their parents object, never encourage, hold them, stop them. Even then, they do not give up. Who gave that idea to them? It is due to their previous experience. Because they were in that particular line, religious way of life is familiar to them. It is difficult to stop their religious way of life. This is called mental tendency. So there are so many hundreds of them we can single out, we can point out. By nature, we get these habits. Again, our food, our clothing, and our hobbies, we choose. Our colors, we choose by nature. Some Chinese like to eat Indian food. Some Chinese like to go and see Indian films. They don't like Chinese films. Some Chinese like to associate with Indians only, but not with Chinese. I know many of them. This is called mental tendency. This is their previous experience. Their inclination, their attachment, their likes and dislikes depend on their previous experience. So when we aspire to be like this, it really works. I think you have heard, even in the modern psychology, it is very clearly mentioned, the man's life will be shaped up according to his or her way of thinking. That way of thinking means aspiration. So when we develop our ideas, our likes or dislikes towards certain things for a longer period, we train our mind to be like that and develop our attachment towards that particular object or person. Another, develop our attachment towards certain people without any reason. Not related to us, we have not seen them, they have not done anything for us, yet we like them very much. We do not know why. That is what the Buddha says. This is due to your previous experience, previous life, relationship. Still you continue. Although the physical body is disintegrated, separated, mental relationships still continue. That means after our death, our mental relationships we continue with our relatives, with our friends, and with whom we like. That attachment, that magnetic power still maintained in the mental energy, in the sankhara. These are the secrets that many people could not understand. To others, all these things are nothing but will of God, acts of God. That is the only answer that they can give. But understanding people cannot satisfy with this answer. See the way how the Buddha has explained that each and every person continue his or her way of life, character, behavior, temperament, mood. Again, when we develop our religious way of life, we train our mind to get into religious way of life. After that, next life, the conditions, the situation, environment, automatically we get because of this aspiration. Wherever we are, whether in a Buddhist country, somehow or the other, we find out the ways and means to communicate. Very simple. Your pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings. It is a mental energy. We think that physical body is experiencing pain and pleasure. No, body cannot experience any pain, only mind. But this is a channel, body is a channel. Sanya, next one. That is another mental faculty that we use to recognize, for identification, to understand this is so and so. That is another aspect of our mental energy. Sanya. Sankhara, just now I explained. I think you have heard in the modern psychology there is another interpretation. Collective consciousness is a very meaningful word, because they have no idea of karmic energy or sankhara. But they have found out there is something in the man's mind and introduced as collective consciousness. When you talk about Mahayana interpretation of Alaya Vijnana, a storehouse of consciousness, in Abhidhamma there is no such place as a storehouse of consciousness. But it is very easy to understand if we talk about a storehouse of consciousness where karmic seeds are deposited. Now people say, in each person's mind there is Buddha seed. This is a very crude form of explanation. Real meaning is, according to the Buddha's teaching, that in each and every person's mind there are potentialities, possibilities to gain enlightenment one day. Therefore, it is not reserved or monopolized only by particular chosen people. If you really want to be a Buddha, from today onward you have to aspire for that. Then it will become your Buddha seeds in your mind, deposited in your mind. Then you develop life after life, you develop this seed until one day the shoots come up. So, this accumulated consciousness, very easily we can interpret as karmic seeds, what we have deposited, good and bad karmic seeds, immediately after performing or committing either good karma or bad karma. Karmic energy we deposit in the mind through cetana, not by pure mind. Pure mind cannot produce. We have to develop this mental energy up to that level, which is called cetana. When we define this word cetana, there are 7 kinds of some other factors. When all these 7 factors are completed, then that mental energy becomes very dynamic, very forceful mental energy to do something. If that action is a good one, it will become kusala kamma, meritorious deed. If that action is a bad one, it will become akusala kamma, demeritorious deed. Then what happens? The karmic seeds that we have deposited, we experience the result either within this lifetime, if not immediately hereafter in the next life. If not at any time, as long as we remain within this cycle of birth and death. There are 3 periods. It depends at what a stage mental impulses, mental beats, javana chitta, 7 beats. At the first stage, if we have done that, we experience the good and bad result within this lifetime. If no result, it will become automatically, it will disappear. No more result. Extinguished. Many good and bad karmas that we accumulate, we never experience the result. Extinguished. Next one, last one. First mental impulses and the last mental impulse. If we have done that, when our mind mental beat is at that stage, we experience the good and bad results hereafter. That means after our death, next life. If no results come to us within that period, that karma also again extinguished. 5 more in the middle. Whenever we perform good and bad deeds within this stage, the karmic result we experience as long as we remain here in this samsara or cycle of birth and death. So every day we are experiencing. We do not know why. Suddenly, good people get into trouble. Suddenly, unexpectedly, rich people collapse. Young people suddenly collapse and die. Get into trouble. We do not know the secret. Will of God, act of God is not the answer. Here, this is the secret. They have accumulated certain bad karmas which were waiting. When the chances are there, circumstances are there, they will come up, catch, attack. On the other hand, unfortunate people who are regarded as unfortunate people get the chance to come up and climb up to the maximum level. This is the secret. Hidden karmic energy has come forward to bring him up. People usually say, thanks God. That's all. They know only that much. That is not the interpretation. There is no God behind this. His own act, his own karmic act. Anyway, this is not the subject, aspiration. Now, I have told you how the Buddha has developed his aspiration, life after life, until he gained his enlightenment. When we perform some meritorious deed, this is a very important juncture. Usually, we expect worldly, material gain as a reward. The Buddha has given us a warning. You should not be so crazy, or you should not bring down the value of your meritorious deeds by developing your craving and attachment, aspiring a worldly material thing or worldly pleasure, which are impermanent, changeable, create unsatisfactory. You have to develop your way of thinking further and further up to the maximum level. But majority people want a heavenly reward. They want to go to heaven to enjoy their life. That is the aim of their meritorious deeds or religious way of life. That is their aspiration. Buddha says it is a very poor aspiration. Then the next step, not only for my personal gain, personal benefit or worldly pleasure, but for my own salvation, not for worldly pleasure, for my liberation. I want to get rid of this miserable existence, life and death. I want to get rid of physical and mental suffering. I want to see the end of my existence to liberate myself. The Buddha says that aspiration is higher than the first one, because there is no selfish idea, no intention or aspirations or craving for worldly pleasure. But you must be wise, again the Buddha says. If you work only for your own salvation, you are not very wise. You can find out your salvation by serving others. That is what the Buddha says when he started his aspiration to become a Buddha. I work for my enlightenment, not only for my personal salvation, not only for my liberation or freedom, but I want to release others also. Therefore, you can aspire in this way. Any time when you perform any kinds of meritorious deeds, whether you aspire for your worldly gain, heavenly bliss, or not, you get naturally. You get naturally, no need to aspire. But you have to develop your mind further to gain something better than this. What is that? To gain more knowledge, more wisdom, more energy, to serve others, to enlighten others, to educate others, not only for your personal benefit. That aspiration is excellent. But not enough, not completed. Now let us take the Buddhas and Arahantas and Pacceka Buddhas. Some people always ask why Pacceka Buddhas never preach. I say, I do not know why. They don't preach. That is their nature. But Arahanta, then they ask, what is the difference between the Buddha and Arahanta? Is there any difference when they attain or when they gain Nibbanic bliss? Is there any difference? There is no difference whatsoever. All of them, those who have eradicated their defilement, purified their mind, experience the same Nibbanic bliss. No difference. Differences remain while they are living or their services. Arahantas are known as Sravaka. Sravaka means after listening, after learning from the Buddha, they develop themselves, they attain perfection, and they gain wisdom. After that, they impart this knowledge to others. Now when you read Sariputta, Ananda, Moggallana, Kāśyapa, all those well-known Arahantas during the Buddha's time, how they have served the public after learning everything from the Buddha. They have paved the way for millions of others. Emperor Asoka, who has introduced Buddhism all over the world, about 2,300 years ago, he was a very wicked, very cruel ruler who has invaded so many kingdoms and created a very big empire. Finally, he started to think, now I am going on massacring people, destroying kingdoms and occupying. In the end, what do I give? He started very deeply. He is the only ruler in this world who stopped his invasion in spite of his gaining and winning and victory. But all the others had to give up their war when they were defeated. He won, he got everything. But he started to think very deeply. Stop. So one day, when he was sitting in his palace, he has seen a young monk was going somewhere. He was watching very carefully. Very serene and very nice, pleasing to the eyes. He thought this person must be somebody. Then asked him to come to the palace. Okay. Then the king asked him to sit down in any of those chairs. His throne also there. Then straight away this young monk sat down in the king's throne. Then he knew he had the courage to come and sit down on my throne. This person must be somebody. Then he said, who are you? He said, I am the follower of the Buddha. It is 223 years after the Buddha. Then, what do you learn? What do you preach? What do you practice? Then he said, actually, I have not learned very much. Little bit only this stanza. He explained. The meaning is this. If any things that exist due to the combinations of elements and energies, component things, they are known as component things. If anything come into existence due to combinations of elements and energies, the Buddha has pointed out how these things appear. Again he says how these things exist. Then he says how these things disappear. After that he says what will happen after that when these things disappear. This is the Buddha's message. At once he was convinced. He realized the truth. He completely changed his way of life and become a very, very devout Buddhist and supported Buddhism, erected 80,000 pagodas and temples and various other religious places, sent out Buddhist missionaries throughout the world. After that, he came and asked, now I have done so much for Buddhism. Now I belong to this religion because I have done so much. The Moggaliputta Tissa Mahathera, the Arahant, said, no, What? I have done so much for Buddhism, to promote Buddhism. But you say, still I am not belong to. That means, cannot claim that Buddhism as, not as a personal religion here, not belong to that particular religion. I don't know whether you can understand what I am trying to tell. When I explain, you can see. Then he asked, then, is there anything else that I have to do? Yes. Unless you sacrifice your sons or daughters to become monks and nuns, you cannot claim Buddhism. Then you can say you are belong to it. Then he asked Mahinda, Prince Mahinda, he agreed. He became a monk. He attained Arahantahood. He sent him to Sri Lanka, first Buddhist missionary. Then approached the daughter Sanghamitta. She also became a nun. Later she has taken the Bodhi sapling to Sri Lanka. So when you study these things, the way of life of Arahantas can pave the way for wicked people, dangerous people, irreligious people to be religious. That is the service. Then after that they experience their own Nibbanic bliss. So when we aspire to gain something, it must be a very wide, without selfish, without craving, without developing our attachment, without developing our mental defilements, we can continue our aspiration to gain more and more useful, meaningful, serviceable knowledge, wisdom, energy to serve others, in the end to find out our own salvation also. It is not selfish. This is the way how the Buddha has introduced. There is another important point. Just now I told you, when we perform some meritorious deeds, naturally we experience good results. But we do not know what we gain. Be wise. I think you can remember in many temples, after performing some religious services, they recite a particular word in the Pali or in any language. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. This is the aspiration. This is our aspiration. All those who have read the Handbook of Buddhists and Golden Discipline, I think they can find this stanza. By the virtues of, this is the way how we aspire now. By the virtues of this merit, imina punya kambe, mame bala samagamo. Here, we got to be very careful. If we are going to associate with those who have low mentality or irreligious mind or wicked and dangerous mind who maintain very low mentality, they can irritate us, they can mislead us, and they can prevent our noble way of religious life. Therefore, we try to keep away from them. Satang samagamo hotu. may I get the chance to associate with educated, learned, religious, cultured people. They inspire, they encourage, they support for you to carry on your religious way of life when you associate with them. Yava Nibbana Pattiya, until I attain my Nibbanic bliss. Now you have paven the way, one direct line. This is my aspiration. By the grace of all my good merits, let me have these chances to carry on these religious activities, religious way of life or noble way of life. This is very important. Somehow or the other you get the chance. Then, still I did not explain how you have to aspire to experience karmic result. Now, when I take into my hand and go up, I cannot say which side come down to touch the ground, either this side or the other side or this side. No one can say. So the karmic result that we experience without any aspiration is exactly like this. We gain something, but we do not know what we gain. Therefore, we have to aspire. Then what is this aspiration? Some people like to be born in a particular country because very congenial, very pleasing, favorable. That is one of your aspirations. Again, life as human being, another important aspect. By the virtues of these merits, may I get my rebirth as a human being, and not only as ordinary human being, with all the features, senses, sound, mind. These are very important. How many millions are there without all these things? They are human beings, either crippled or dumb or deaf or mentally retarded or all sorts of problems. To avoid these things, every time when you do some meritorious deeds, you have to aspire to be born as human beings, perfect human beings. Perfect means we cannot find any perfect human being in this world. Here perfect means with all the features and senses and sound mind. And 2 legs. Not more than 2 legs. Then, your way of life, you need, your necessity, your requirement. People are struggling for their survival. No proper food, no clothing, no shelter, no medicines, no proper education, no income. This is the biggest problem. So when you aspire to have all these things, not to develop your craving, not to develop your attachment, but these are necessities for your survival. You must have proper food, good clothing, a shelter for you to live without any difficulty, and medicine. Otherwise, you won't gain what you want. You get something else what you don't like. Therefore, when you aspire directly, these are the things that I aspire, and this is the way I have to develop my life after life, until I find out my salvation, my liberation, the ultimate aim of my religion. But many people are crazy when they talk about heaven. They think that heaven is a wonderful place, because religious people have illustrated heaven by using all sorts of decoration, exaggerations, and beautifying. The Buddha has mentioned devas like to become human beings. Many devas aspire to be human beings. The reason? They have no chances to develop their mind. They have no chances to cultivate their religious life. The conditions, environment, situation is not favorable for this. Human beings have all the facilities, but we neglect. We abuse our human intelligence, our human dignity, not knowing the real value of our human life. This is a very rare opportunity. To become a human being is not an easy thing. When you see the number of other living beings in this world and other world systems we do not know, small numbers only among the human beings. Smallest number. Now today, I heard there are 4,000 million human beings in this world. But in this building, if you examine through microscope, you can find more than 4,000 million living beings. Then you can understand human beings are very, very limited. And once when we neglected, when we abused our human intelligence, please remember, we will collapse. After climbing up to the top of a Himalayan mountain, using full effort, if you neglect one step there on the top, there is no difficulty for you to come down. This human life also like this. If you abuse the valuable human life, collapse. Then rebirth takes place as animals, a spirit, ghost, hantus, and disturb others also. They are very energetic, but mischievous, notorious, wicked. That is the result. Devas, they get good food, nice clothing, always playing, dancing, music. What else? That's all. And the difference is the life span there was different. 500 years, according to our calculations here in this world, one day to the lower heaven. And there they can live 500 years according to their calculation. Nice, isn't it? Somehow or the other, one day they have to die. That is not a permanent place. Other religionists have introduced this heaven as a permanent, eternal, everlasting, wonderful place, and where their heavenly daddy is waiting for them to embrace all the others who go there. But Buddhism never encouraged people to satisfy or to aspire only heavenly bliss or the Brahma world. Two religions satisfy. After gaining heavenly bliss, thinking this is permanent and eternal. Another religion says, no, heaven is not the permanent place, we have to go further. Brahma world is the permanent place. Hindus have taken the target Brahma world as their permanent, eternal place. The Buddha says, no, neither heaven nor Brahma world, but we have to go beyond, further. That is Nirvana. Nirvana is not a place, my dear friends. Don't create misunderstanding. It is not a place for you to go there and play football. Play mahjong. Nirvana is unconditioned. It is uncreated, unconditioned. When all our physical and mental sufferings are no more. When we have no more worries and miseries and troubles and problems and arguments and difficulties. When there are no more sicknesses and old age. When there are no grumbling, criticizing, attacking and this and that. When there are no more fighting, quarreling, arguing. When you stop all these things, then we are in Nibbana. Very easy to understand.